Welcome you to this episode of the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History on the Tunelanio podcast. Here we receive and honor participants in the history of the Nigerian theatre industry who have made impact in diverse areas of the theatre. And over the last 3 weeks, we've been speaking with Mr. Gregory ODUTAYO, who has spanned the stage, spanned radio, television, and is still going strong. And is the one who is reliving his experiences in the theater in that field for us. And we are learning so many things from his intervention. One, that it's important to be trained, to be well-grounded, so that you know what you're doing when you are in that industry. And that industry requires a lot of work, a lot of commitment, and a lot of knowledge of several things that you will need to make you function properly and successfully. Today, he's been kind enough to continue with us on this episode, and we are going to be launching out into wider areas of things that concern the theater, where he's made an impact. And we are going to be talking today about the association that brought theater arts practitioners together. That is something that took a long time to come, because each time there was an attempt to start it, it was scuttled. But now, thank God, it's working. You're welcome again,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Rutayo. Talk to us about how you got involved in NANTAP.
NANTAP was a movement. NANTAP was a movement because, like you said, there had been several attempts to birth something until the Becky Musa issue came up, and it was a sort of rallying point, and you were able to accomplish that. But I had a big role to play in NANTAP then, because I was a member of the first governing body for NANTAP, even as a student. It was, I think, practically my final year or something, and I was one of the 2-3 people who went to Benton Oloju in Guardian to say, look, we need you to lead this movement. You know, and he was able to lead that movement, and a lot was achieved with NANTAP. Till today, NANTAP is the only professional body that has gone through thick and thin and has survived. All other bodies have been crumbled, have been dismembered, have been broken into pieces, have led to other associations, but NANTAP has remained. You know, maybe not where we want it to be or where we wanted it to be, but I think it's made a big impact. But with purposes of hindsight, we also know that NANTAP has suffered from an identity crisis. You know, an identity because theater, for some of us, has gone beyond stage.
Yeah.
You know, but for some selfish reasons, a lot of people still
Want to
put NANTAP into that stage and say you people belong only to
stage.
Because they know the power that NANTAP has. You know, if you allow them to venture out of where that hole, you know, it could be disastrous for some associations. But it's still the only fully registered, fully recognized professional body by CSC, you know, in terms of registration.
Right.
You know, and it was a movement, like I said, and NANTAP is grown from that little room that we had in National Theatre that we still have till today is grown. There was a time we enjoyed sponsorship from the Ford Foundation. I would think that was probably the highest point of NANTAP to date, you know. But it's funny how even that evolved because I was a member of the ESCO. I was the director of publicity then, and I got interested in funding, funding for the arts and all of that, and I went researching, found Ford Foundation, and Ford Foundation I found I was doing a lot of things in the media and in the theater in Nigeria at that time, you know. But in my little research, I found out that they were dealing with only a small clique. Let me use that word. You know, so I sat on I sent a mail to Ford Foundation, and I said, blah blah, that I don't understand what we're doing. We're only funding your friends, you know, a small clique. I threw in a lot of allegations, and I sent it. I wasn't expecting a response, but the response came. You know, and it was an invitation for me to come to their office in Lagos, and I went. You know, getting to Ford, I met somebody, Toyin Adewale. She was a friend. You know, and
now Toyin Adewale Gabriel.
Yes, Adewale Gabriel. And she just laughed when she saw me and said, "This is your email." I said, "At least it got me an invitation to come and talk to." It was a Ghanaian guy that was, and when we sat down, he said to me that, "Do you expect me to give Ford Foundation money to people I don't know? Of course I will fund only my friends, because they are the ones I can vouch for. I don't know you. I don't know NANTAP. Why should I give other people's money to you?" And that was the first time it sank in my head that, hang on, this guy probably has a point. Why will he give money to you if he doesn't know you? He said, "But you've come. I see that you know Toyin. Toyin is the one in charge of your sector. You know, so I think maybe if we become friends and you become friend of Ford Foundation, maybe we can also fund theater, NANTAP, if you guys are ready to do the work."
Yes.
And lo and behold, we were able to do the work. We wrote all the proposals, several proposals, and it was a new, you know, area for most of us, because we hadn't done any grant thing before. You know, so many strange areas. You can't move funding. You need a car. You have money for stationery, and the money is there. You can't move the money from stationery to go and buy a car. It has to stay within. You have to make another application for
the money for vehicle you have is for renting. You can't use it to buy.
You can't buy. So many things. And if you have their money, you have change, you return it to them. You don't say, "Okay, I have your change, I'm going to keep it." No. You know, so it taught a completely new experience for some of us, you know, but it also laid the foundation for how NANTAP has evolved to today. You know, it's probably the only association that if we end up electing somebody that doesn't work, we let the person run his term. Just
you wait until
he finishes. Other associations will scatter it, will break it up, will go and form another one, but NANTAP hasn't done that. And I think for me it's been instructive that
that's a truly democratic.
If we make our mistakes, it's democratic. You leave the person democratically. Once or twice where we've had people who don't want to leave, we've had to do almost like forced conventions and all of that. But I think NANTAP has achieved a lot. There's still a lot more that we can achieve, and I believe that we're still on that pathway to achieving it.
Talk to me about what has not been achieved that you think is very important and should be.
The problem of our industry is that there are no gateways. There are no gates. It's an all-commerce affair. No industry that is an all-commerce affair can grow if there are no gateways. And that is for me one of the biggest drawbacks of NANTAP, that we've not been able to establish something. The vision was to be like an ICANN.
Yes.
The vision was to be like an MBA. the vision was to be like an NMA, but we've not been able to get there. That is a regret for someone like me, because if we had gone there, if we had achieved that, this industry will have grown bigger than what it is today. But it's an all-comers affair, and a lot of people who are there now, they don't want it regulated because they believe that talent is more than you don't regulate creativity.
Yeah.
No, you must regulate creativity. We cannot self-regulate. We're not self-regulating ourselves. We must regulate creativity. We must have an entry barrier. You just don't say, because I am here, I have talent, I can act, so I'm an actor. No. They're training, they have formations. And I keep saying to a lot of people, if you look at some of the best in Nigeria today, they are formally trained.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not saying that there are not one or two who break out of the mold.
Talent,
who have raw talent and don't go through that formal training, and there are those like that. But the most successful, 80% of them went through formal education. Is it RMD?
I agree with you.
Is it whoever it is you want to mention in the industry?
I agree.
They went through that too.
I agree with you, and I think it's an important area that NANTAP must pay attention. It's not only NANTAP. You see, even in news gathering and presentation now, we have stragglers, just struggling, and you are seeing that effect on the size of fake news that gets into the internet. And even people who ordinarily you think would not fall for such things, fall for it.
Yes.
So that's also, you're acting as the buffer between society and that profession. And it means that NANTAP is the quality assurer for that profession. And it must take that business very, very seriously. Now, having spoken about that, what would you call the golden era of NANTAP?
I'm caught between the beginning, when the association was led by Mahmoud Ali Balogun, and the Ford Foundation era, when it was led by Tade Adekunle, which I was a member of the executive. I think those are probably two of the golden moments. Because if that early beginning did not happen, we wouldn't even be talking about NANTAP today.
Yeah.
That was a period in which NANTAP was a thorn in the flesh of government. No decisions were taken in the art sector without NANTAP being consulted. Our nuisance value was very high. And that nuisance value was something that we inculcated. We stopped the launch of the the cultural policy by President Babangida. We stopped it. We went to protest. We took newspaper adverts. We did so many things. The event was slated for, I think, Mina or Abuja or something like that, and we stopped it. On the morning of the event, it was stopped. It was cancelled. But that was the power that the association held, the respect
but
that
that's
everybody
still a gap that's not been filled yet.
It hasn't been filled yet.
Do you think NANTAP is regretting that?
No, I don't think so, because what we did then was for a purpose. If it had gone through then, we would probably even still be worse than where we are now, because the cultural policy was going to be put as a desk in the Ministry of Culture. As a desk, it was not going to achieve anything. So it wasn't, the foundation was wrong. And the foundation of anything that is wrong would still have ended up bad. So that was our fight there. Our fight was not to stop the cultural policy launch. Our fight was to ensure that it is started off properly. You don't take something as big as that and make it a desk in a ministry. No, it doesn't work. So the document is still there, and I think it's been reviewed twice or three times, but we still need that government that would have, although in the record books it was signed, So it's still a policy that's been signed
That's
into
been
law.
signed.
You know, but there hasn't been any implementation. And this is an area that
Do you think
still
we
needs
need to start it and then continue to fight for improvements?
In my very honest opinion, from where I sit today, I think it's an outdated document. I think it has been overtaken by events. Maybe there are still areas of that policy that we need to revisit, and then we need to bring in the vicissitudes of what is existing today. Where are we today?
Bring it up to date.
Bring it up to, you know,
update it,
and you know,
and then we
film has changed, television has changed, radio has changed, broadcast has changed, the entire media landscape has changed. You know, even theater has changed. So that cultural policy
should reflect all of it.
Yeah, it should be all encompassing. As at that time, theater was the only thing that was
Yes.
real. You know, so it would need to go through a lot of changes, you know, for it to really function. But I think
be
it's
useful
something
for
that
the
needs to be
industry.
done. Yes, something that needs to be
I want to thank you very much. There's still a lot to talk about, but for now, I'll let Mr. Gregory ODUTAYO go, so that we catch our breath and again take him up in the near future on some other areas, because I still want to talk about the large involvement of government in the media. It's so large, particularly radio and television. I was going to ask, perhaps we should talk about it. Do you think it's healthy? Do you think it's serving the people? Do you think it should be reduced?
I don't think it should be reduced. I don't think there is enough.
Of government, I'm not talking about.
Yeah, of government. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's enough. We cannot self-regulate. Where people who are our peculiar interests gets in the way. I always say to people that as owners of channels, as owners of licenses, we're just we're trustees. A public property has just been entrusted in our care.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to use it with decorum. We need to use it with a lot of common sense. I tell my people here, I don't want to be the first to break the news. If this news is not confirmed, if there's anything that would be the first death of Nigeria, it's going to be fake news.
Yeah.
So I still feel government is not doing enough to stem it. You know, a lot more still needs to be done.
Because a year or two ago, there was an attempt, I think it was Line One, who was talking about, and everywhere got so heated up.
Because people do not understand.
That why must you stop people from speaking, whatever?
Because they don't understand. They don't understand.
There's a sense of responsibility to what
you would. A few days ago, Olu Jacobs was rumored to be dead.
Yeah.
A lot of people put it out, and you just push out this information, and you don't check it, you don't double check it.
Yeah.
If there is no repercussion,
yeah,
for these things, it will continue to
continue.
Happen. And social media is a borderless space.
Yeah.
You know, somebody sits in one little room and crafts with his own crazy dark imagination,
yes,
crafts a story that you know is not true,
yes,
and before you know it, that thing spreads, and you don't, and it's just for clicks.
In fact, such a story had been given in the past, and when the person was asked, the irresponsible response was, "I wanted to direct traffic."
That's all.
How could that be?
That's all.
A sufficient ground for
I
releasing such dangerous.
Government is not doing enough. Government is not doing enough.
So
there's not enough intervention. There's not enough regulation. There's not enough. Unfortunately, it is needed. Unfortunately, because we're not self-regulating ourselves.
So what would be you've said it, but what would be your word, your charge to practitioners in terms of their responsibility to society?
We need to be responsible. We need to understand that the society looks up to us. I tell my staff that if you go on radio today in Ibadan and say, oh, there is war in Bodija, 3/4 of the people who heard you will believe you first and foremost before verifying it. So you are carrying a lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
Yeah.
So you must ensure that you discharge it with all forms of decorum, with all forms of responsibility, with all forms of, everything. We cannot just be laissez-faire about it. But unfortunately, because we cannot self-regulate, government needs to step in. We're still we're too far. America is 200 years old. We cannot compare ourselves to America and say, oh, that's how it's done in America, that's how it's done in. No, we can't.
Which is the lame thing that we keep on
that's
hearing.
the excuse a lot of people put up, but it's not going to work. If there's anything that's going to be the death of us as a nation, it's social media and fake news, if it is not dealt with.
So, what's your advice to parents, guardians, young people who think that there is no serious way studying theater arts or going to prepare, that they can just get on stage, they can just record themselves and be who they can be?
There's a discipline that comes from a theater training. It's like you build a house without a foundation. But it's important. There are a lot of people who've gone into theater who've come out of it with nothing. It's important to have a direction. It's important to have a vision. It's important to have something for yourself, to know where you're going and know where you're coming from, and understand that your progress is not because you studied theater. It's because you applied what you learned to what you're doing,
to what you want to be, where you want to go.
If you do not do that, even if you study medicine and you do not apply yourself to that process, you'll be a terrible doctor. So it's important. Theater is so diverse. We see theater artists in all spheres of life. You see them in banking, you see them in insurance, you see them in business. You see them everywhere. You see them in PR, you see them in radio, you see them in TV, because that is the kind of training and discipline that the theater has given to you.
Yeah.
So it's giving you that in such a way that it allows you to be able to function in all of these areas. If you go to a bank, it has a PR department. If you go to insurance, there's one there. If you go to the army, there's something there. If you go to each of all of these have broadcast arms.
Yeah.
Some of them have radio, some of them have TV. EFCC has radio, police has radio, this one has TV. Everything is together. So if any parents out there thinks that, studying theater is like what my father, God bless his memory, said, it's gone beyond that.
Yes.
It's gone beyond that. So it's people need to understand that theater is a vista of opportunities. It just has a plethora of opportunities and chances and what you can do with it.
Finally, I want you to speak to people who think that a lot of our programs on radio, and that was why I was bringing the preparation and the vision that you had, the training that you had to plan your programs, that most programs have been telephone programs and no serious content is seen in a lot of the programs on a lot of the stations that we have right now. One, if that is true, which I think it is, what do you think is responsible for that, and what can be done so that we see more the way we started, that the producer has worked, the presenter has worked, and there is something to present to the public, not just to be people who are latching on to just views from the public through the telephone.
A lot of preparation goes into radio programming. A lot of it. I tell my staff in Lagos and Ibadan, I said to them, I don't want spontaneous radio. You must, we pay a lot of attention to show preps. Your show prep must be done. I need to know what's inside your content of your program. Where is the content? Where is the research?
That is what is absent in most
I do
in a
not
lot of
want
stations.
spontaneous radio. I don't want, I was on my way to work today, a car splashed water on me. Have you had water splashed on you before? Call in, let us discuss. That is what most of them do. So that means that for that day, you had nothing planned. If somebody didn't splash water on you, what would you have
done?
Talked about? So it's that's a gap. It's a gap there's a lacuna in ownership of radio and TV. Because a lot of those who've gotten licenses are not professionals.
Right.
Some are businessmen, some are politicians, most of them are. So it's just by the way for them. They are not professionals. And some of them have not hired professionals. So it's just a business. Some of them,
there's no problem with not being a professional owner, but you must
hire a professional who will take on
the responsibility.
Because we also do not understand yet the responsibilities that we carry as broadcasters, because it's a big responsibility. So if we contextualize that responsibility, we will pay more attention to what we do on radio, either as practitioners, as before now. People go to radio stations, they wear their short knickers, and radio has transcended. It's visual now. It's no longer sort of magbesi. You are getting the reply immediately. So the dynamics have changed. So we need to change with it. We need to make it more responsible. We need to ensure that we are distilling the proper information. Some of us are still traditional till today. If I hear a news until the traditional platforms release it, I would not believe it. I will hold on to my peace. But a lot of people,
because like you said, there's too much unreliability in the
news. You don't even know
that
which
you
is
get
true.
now.
And what is bad.
You can't vouch for, and I get totally flustered when I see any fake news on the traditional media that we knew.
Unfortunately, they are also caught in the fence. Everybody wants to be the first to break the news. Nobody wants to be the second to break the news. But I mean, for me, if it's not confirmed,
don't hear it.
Do not use it.
Don't hear it. Now I must thank you. I've stretched you to give us this time, and you have, as a gentleman, done so. And I want to thank you very much. I want to thank you for your contribution to the theater. I want to thank you for your devotion, for your vision for the theater, and for continuing that vision, that passion, through your engagements in the theater, on radio, on television, and in the various fora where the interest of this industry is being considered. I've been engaging Mr. Gregory ODUTAYO for the last couple of episodes to be our witness on the Nigerian theater, and he has spoken to us about the various dimensions where he has exhibited the talent that God gave him, and how he thinks that lots more people, parents, guardians, and even individuals, should consider going into theater, receiving the training, because it's so dynamic. You can be engaged in various fields, and that you continue to use the lessons you learn from that industry in various aspects of life. Once again, I want to invite you, once you have watched this, listen to Mr. ODUTAYO, click the like button and share with others so that they can be kept informed of the views that is expressed. Until we come again your way next week with another person, it's bye from the Tundelanio podcast, the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History.